This class is about Born-Haber cycle, and this is application of Hess law. So Born and Haber applied Hess law to find essential properties like lattice energy of a crystal and electron affinities and ionization potentials using thermochemical equations. So now we can say Born-Haber cycle is application of Hess law. And what are the idea? What are the ideas? Application of Hess law is based on two ideas. That is, enthalpy depends on two important factors. One, it is a, a state function, and second one, it is an extensive property. Means it depends only on initial and final changes. It doesn't depend on the path. The second one, its value changes with the quantities involved in the process. Okay, let's make Born-Haber cycle. So let's take formation of a crystal, 1 mole of crystal from its constituent elements. Let's say the crystal is made up of one monovalent cation and monovalent anion. So let's say crystal monovalent cation is represented by M plus and monovalent anion is represented by X minus. So this is the crystal, and generally these are solids. So crystals are actually the giant structure of cations and anions held in a regular pattern, which is known as the space lattice, and energy associated with that is known as lattice energy. So for crystals, very familiar term associated with them is lattice energy. So now let's try to uh, create Born-Haber cycle for the formation of one mole of crystal from its constituent elements in two different paths. And what is the Hess law? Formation of crystal directly from its constituent elements, or in any other route, the enthalpy change involved in that is same. So we can write the first path. Let's take the path 1. So what is the path 1 here? The direct combination of elements. So metal solid, and let's say X2 gas, a diatomic gas. Therefore we require half mole of that and combining to give us M plus X minus solid. This is a direct combination of elements to form the crystal, and the energy involved in this process is delta H formation. Why? It is a formation of 1 mole of substance from its constituent elements. Therefore, the enthalpy change associated for this path is delta HF naught. Okay, this is path 1. Now let's go for path 2. What's a path 2? Path 2 is a series of reactions that led to the formation of crystal from these starting materials. What's the main thing? We should have a same set of reactants, same set of products, whatever may be the path, enthalpy change involved is same. If path 1 happens in one step and path 2 happens in several steps, total changes involved in path 2 sum is equal to the changes involved in the path 1. If it involves only one step, the enthalpy change in this one step is equal to the sum of enthalpy changes involved in all the steps in path 2. Therefore, we try to make a path 2 in such a way that, let's take the idea here is to include the lattice energy. And what is the definition of lattice energy? The amount of energy required to break 1 mole of crystal lattice to its constituent ions in the gaseous state. In other words, the amount of energy released when cations and anions in the gaseous state to form 1 mole of crystal lattice is known as lattice energy. Therefore, we require cation in the gaseous state and anion in the gaseous state, and their combination will give us crystal lattice, and that energy changes involved in that combination of cation, gaseous cation and gaseous anion is lattice energy. So as it is a formation of crystal, there will be a release of energy, which is exothermic process. Okay, now here we need to make metal cation and non-metal anion both in gaseous state. So now here we have metal solid. To make this into gas, first we need to sublime it. Therefore, the energy involved for this process of converting metal solid to metal gas is latent heat of sublimation. Now we have a metal in gaseous state. Now here one more important factor to get metal cation. So what is the energy factor that is associated with the formation of cation? That is ionization potential. What is its definition? Amount of energy required to remove an electron to form a cation from a atom from its valence shell. So here it is a endothermic process. Here the sublimation from solid to gas is also endothermic process. Okay, now we have a metal cation in the gaseous state. So here what are the most important terms involved? That is ionization potential, which is a periodic property. The next one is formation of anion. So here now let's see here the breaking of half mole of X2 gas into the individual atoms. So if we break 1 mole of X2 gas into 2 moles of the atoms, that is known as heat of atomization, which is exactly same as bond dissociation energy. But here we have a half mole, therefore this energy required to break this half mole bonds to form 1 mole of gaseous X atoms is exactly half of dissociation energy. Therefore, I can represent this with half D. Now, next thing is we have to form non-metal anion X minus, and the energy process associated with this is known as electron gain enthalpy, which is also known as electron affinity. That is actually exothermic process, at least to form monovalent anions. For divalent anions, from monovalent to divalent, sometimes it may be exothermic, sometimes they may be endothermic. At least for our discussion purpose, let's keep it's a monovalent anion. Generally, monovalent anion formation with electron gain enthalpy are negative in terms. Therefore, I can say this one is negative electron affinity. And what we get here? X minus. So now we have metal cation in the gaseous state, non-metal anion in the gaseous state. Now their combination will give us M plus X minus crystal, that is lattice energy. Therefore, I can use the word lattice energy, the letter UC, which is lattice energy. So in the Born-Haber cycle, the energy processes are involving is lattice energy, another one is sublimation energy, next we have ionization potential or ionization energy, the next one is electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy, we can say electron affinity, which is energy process, and another one is dissociation energy. This is dissociation energy, and other one, that is formation energy of crystals, delta HF. So basically in this cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 energy processes are there. So if we know 5 out of them, automatically we will be able to determine the sixth one. Okay, path 1 are having the reactants the same as reactants of path 2. Now let's come to the products. The path 1 products and path 2 products are same. Therefore, the energy changes involved in path 1 is equal to energy changes involved in path 2. So energy changes involved in path 1 related to one step. Therefore, whatever the energy in the or heat in the path 1 is equal to all the heat changes involved in path 2, sum of all the heat changes. Therefore, the path 1 energy, that is delta HF naught, is equal to sum of all these 5 processes. Therefore, I can write here delta HF naught. Okay, HF, let's say it naught means standard state. So what I say here, I can call all these energy changes, this one as delta H1 and this one as delta H2 and this one as delta H3 and this one as delta H4 and this one as delta H5. Therefore, delta HF is sum of all these enthalpy changes right from delta H1 to delta H5. Therefore, this is going to be delta H1, that is sublimation energy, plus delta H2 ionization energy, plus delta H3 half of dissociation energy, plus delta H4 electron gain enthalpy, plus delta H5, that is lattice energy. Now let's substitute all those individual letters given for this. So delta HF is equal to, this is a endothermic, therefore this is LS, plus this is also endothermic, that is ionization potential, this is half of dissociation energy, which is endothermic, now plus times delta H4, which is an exothermic, that has a negative value. So positive times negative is negative electron affinity, and now delta H5, which is also a negative term if we talk from cation and anion to form the crystal lattice. Therefore, positive times minus negative is negative. You see, this is the formula for Born-Haber cycle. So if we know 5 of any of these, then we will be able to determine the sixth one. So for example, if we know formation energy, sublimation energy, ionization energy, and dissociation energy, lattice energy, we will be able to fix electron affinity. And if we know this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, we can able to fix lattice energy. That's the advantage of Born-Haber cycle. Now let's do a problem here, and the problem is this one. So the problem is, set up Born-Haber cycle from the following data and calculate electron affinity of chlorine. Electron affinity of chlorine. This is the question. Now here we have set up thermochemical equations and the enthalpy associated for each process. Therefore, let's take following data. So now we will have some data equations, that is sodium solid to sodium gas, that is sublimation energy. So delta H for this process is 109.6 kilojoules per mole. Next one, sodium gas to sodium ion gas, that is ionization potential. Delta H for this is 493.7 kilojoules per mole. Next one, chlorine gas to two chlorine atoms in the gas state, that is enthalpy of atomization, which is 245.2 kilojoules per mole. So here 1 mole of chlorine atom, 1 mole of chlorine molecules to 2 moles of chlorine atoms. But in the formation equation of sodium chloride, we require only 1 mole of chlorine atoms. That means we have to use only half mole of chlorine molecules that contain only half mole of the bonds. To break half mole of the bonds into their respective atoms, into their constituent atoms, the energy required is exactly half of bond dissociation energy. Now, next one is the chlorine gas plus electron, which is essentially electron affinity, and delta H for this process is X. We need to find out. Now look at here, calculate electron affinity. So therefore this is the focus. This is our main target. We need to determine here X, and also we need to write a Barney-Haber cycle description for all these thermochemical equations. And another one is formation equation. Sodium solid, half moles of chlorine gas to produce sodium chloride, that is lattice Na plus Cl minus solid, and delta HF, which is delta HF formation, which is negative 411.3 kilojoules per mole. And finally we have one more equation, that is lattice formation equation, that is Na plus gas plus Cl minus gas, giving us NaCl Cl minus lattice, and this is lattice energy, which is negative, that is negative 791.3 kilojoules per mole. So this is the question, very big question. It looks big, but solving this question is very easy. Let's take first formation equation, which involves the constituent elements of sodium chloride solid, that is sodium solid and chlorine gas. So therefore this equation, that is path 1. In the path 2, sodium solid to sodium gas to sodium ion, chlorine gas to chlorine atoms, which are half mole, then chlorine atom to chloride anion, then combination of sodium ion and chloride anion to sodium chloride solid. So therefore let's make the Barney-Haber cycle. So first let's write the path 1 equation, that is half mole of Cl2 to Na plus Cl minus solid. This is path 1. Now what is the path 2? Sodium solid to sodium gas, which is how much give this energy is given as negative 411.3, which is delta HF formation. Now this one is LS. So in the data equations it is given as 109.6. All energies are kilojoules per mole. Next one, ionization potential, that is given as 493.7. Okay, and this one, half of bond dissociation energy, that's we are going to okay, that's given as, okay, for dissociation energy it is given as 245.2. therefore half of the dissociation energy is 245.2 divided by 2, so that's going to be 245.2 divided by 2, that is 122.6. that gives chlorine atoms. Now from there, electron affinity, it gains electrons, 1 mole electrons to become 1 mole chloride anions, and here electron affinity That's going to be X, we are going to find out, and combination of these two to give this solid, that is UC. Let's take UC, no need to worry about the sign here. Okay, UC is negative 791.2. So there is a problem here. If we use UC and electron affinity as it is, you can take these negative values in the formula. But if you use the negative signs in the formula that we made earlier slide, then we need to take absolute values, that is its own numerical value. Forget about the signs. So it's better to follow the second one. The formula is actually the one which we made for convenience to make a formula to memorize. That's very bad idea. So what we do, we forget that idea. We just take in the cycle, the energy involved in the process is exactly sum of all these energies. Therefore, now what we can write here, the negative 411.3 kilojoules is sum of all these energies. Therefore, I can write here 109.6 less 493.7, and that is 122.6 plus X plus minus of 791.2, that gives you minus 791.2. So from this I can write X equal to negative 411.3, negative 109.6, negative 493.7, negative 122.6, positive 791.2. So that gives electron affinity of the chlorine atom. So its mass, let's do it, 791.2. I'm coming from the right side, minus 122.6 minus 493.7 minus 109.6 minus 411.3. So I got negative 346 kilojoules per mole. So therefore, the amount of energy released when 1 mole of electrons added to chlorine atom in their valence shell is 346 kilojoules per mole. So that's the answer that we have determined from Barn-Haber cycle. So if we take this Barn-Haber cycle, of course we get the required number for electron affinity. But there is another way of solving the same problem without memorizing even this also. So that we shall do it in the next class. Thank you very much.